Picture this. You wake up one morning and everything has changed. The company you thought was unshakable announces layoffs. The technology you trained your entire career around is suddenly obsolete. The market you invested in collapses, or the city you live in becomes too expensive, too unstable, too stressful. Now imagine another version of you. This version isn't shaken by those shocks. Sure, they might feel fear for a moment, but they don't collapse, because their life was never built on a single pillar. They've built what we might call optionality. They've designed their life in such a way that if one door closes, there are other doors open. If one opportunity dies, two others are waiting. And if chaos reigns, they can bend, adapt, and even thrive while others scramble just to survive. That's what we're going to explore today. Welcome to The Long Game. I'm Nathan, your host, and this episode is about optionality, designing a life that grows in every scenario. Optionality is not just a financial concept, though it comes from investing. In finance, the word option literally means you pay for the right, but not the obligation, to act. You buy a call option, for example, and if the stock goes up, you can exercise it and profit. If it doesn't, you simply let it expire. You've limited your downside, but your upside is uncapped. That's the mathematics of optionality. Now extend that beyond markets. What if your whole life worked like that? What if instead of locking yourself into brittle paths, you deliberately built choices, experiments, skills, and relationships that made you anti-fragile? So that whether the winds blow north, south, east, or west, you still move forward. Let me give you a picture. Imagine two gardeners. One gardener plants a single tree in the center of their yard. It's a strong tree, they water it every day, and it grows tall. But one day, a storm comes, lightning strikes, and that tree falls. The yard is empty. Years of growth gone in a single night. The second gardener plants many trees. Some grow tall, some remain small. Some die in the first season, but a few surprise them. Unexpected fruits, unexpected shade, unexpected beauty. When the storm comes and takes down one tree, the others remain. Some even flourish after the storm, finding more sunlight in the gap. This gardener's yard keeps growing regardless of the weather. That's optionality in your career. That's optionality in your finances. That's optionality in your personal growth. Most of us are trained in linear thinking. We pick one major in college, and we believe we must stick to it. We take one job, and we build our entire identity around that company. We marry our routines, our habits, even our location, as though the future will never change. But the future always changes. Optionality says, don't fight that truth. Design for it. So in this episode, we're going to take a journey into how to do exactly that. We'll look at why optionality is not randomness, but structured resilience. We'll explore how the wealthy, the creative, and the resilient all design multiple pathways that allow them to grow in every scenario. And we'll break it down into practical steps. First, the philosophy. Why optionality is a superior lens compared to prediction and control. Second, career design. How to build skills, relationships, and positioning that ensure you thrive even when industries collapse. Third, financial optionality. From investments to savings to asymmetric bets that cap downside but open vast upside. Fourth, personal life optionality. Your health, your environment, your relationships, how to avoid being trapped in fragile dependencies. And finally, inner growth. How mindset, curiosity, and identity flexibility create a self that adapts faster than circumstances can overwhelm it. By the time we're done, you'll have a toolkit for thinking not in terms of what's the best single path, but how do I build a system that benefits from whichever path opens? Because life is not a straight line. It's a branching tree. And the goal is not to climb one fragile branch. The goal is to grow with the tree itself. So stay with me, because once you internalize optionality, you'll see why the most powerful strategy for the long game is not about predicting the future. It's about positioning yourself to grow no matter which future arrives. This is the long game. I'm Nathan. Let's dive in.
Let's begin with the philosophy of optionality, because before we can apply it to careers, money, or relationships, we have to truly understand how it changes the way you see the world. Most people live as if life is predictable. They think in terms of cause and effect. If I study this major, then I'll get this job. If I stay in this job, then I'll be promoted. If I save money in this way, then I'll retire comfortably. It's a comforting illusion, and sometimes it works. But the problem is, life is not linear. Life is complex. Life is full of unexpected shocks. History shows us this again and again. Think of people who invested their whole lives in industries that vanished overnight. Think of Kodak employees when digital photography rose. Think of taxi medallion owners when Uber arrived. Think of travel agents when the internet gave everyone direct access to booking flights. These were intelligent, hard-working people, but their life plans depended on a single line extending into the future. And when that line broke, their entire foundation broke with it. Now contrast that with people who thought in terms of optionality. They didn't try to perfectly predict the future. They built flexibility into their design. They said, I don't know which technology will dominate, so I'll learn the deeper principles that transfer across technologies. They said, I don't know which company will win, so I'll invest in the underlying ecosystem. They said, I don't know how the economy will shift, so I'll build multiple income streams. Optionality doesn't mean being scattered or unfocused. It means planting intelligent seeds in areas where upside is open-ended while keeping your downside small and survivable. Think of it like this. Imagine you are standing in front of a series of doors. Behind most of them, there's nothing, but behind a few of them, there are treasures, life-changing opportunities. A fragile strategy is choosing one door, betting everything on it, and if it's empty, you lose. An optionality strategy is keeping many doors unlocked so that you can walk through the ones that open without being destroyed if most remain closed. This is why Nassim Nicholas Taleb, in his work on risk and uncertainty, emphasized optionality as the essence of anti-fragility. Fragile systems break under stress. Robust systems resist stress. But anti-fragile systems actually gain from stress because the randomness, the shocks, and the volatility open doors that wouldn't have been visible otherwise. Optionality is how you make yourself anti-fragile. Let me give you an example in everyday life. Imagine someone who has built their entire career around one skill, say accounting with a very specific piece of software. They're great at it. But one day, AI automates that software. Suddenly, decades of expertise lose value overnight. That's fragility. Now imagine another person who also learned accounting, but instead of stopping there, they layered on adjacent skills: communication, data visualization, basic coding, negotiation, and leadership. When the software changes, they don't collapse, they pivot. They take their skills into consulting, into management, into analytics. The shock doesn't end their growth, it redirects it. That's optionality in action. Or think about an investor. One person pours all their savings into a single stock they just know will win. If they're right, they win big. But if they're wrong, they're ruined. Another investor builds a portfolio. They keep a core of safe, compounding assets. They make small bets in startups, emerging technologies, or new markets. If most of those bets fail, it's fine. They lose little. But if one takes off, the upside covers everything and more. That's optionality. Here's the subtle beauty of this mindset. You don't need to be right about the future. You just need to position yourself so that when something unexpected happens, you have a way to benefit. This is incredibly liberating because most people exhaust themselves trying to forecast what cannot be forecast. They cling to certainty when what they really need is adaptability. Optionality is like designing a sailboat instead of a train. A train can only run on one fixed track. If the track is blocked, the journey ends. A sailboat, on the other hand, doesn't need to predict which way the wind will blow. It's designed to adjust the sails and keep moving, no matter the wind's direction. That's how life should be lived. So, in this part of our journey, I want you to reflect. Where in your life are you fragile right now? Where are you betting everything on one path, one skill, one company, one outcome? And how could you redesign that area so that you have more doors, more seeds, more sails to catch whatever winds blow your way? Because here's the truth. The future will surprise you. The only question is whether those surprises will break you or grow you. Optionality is how you make yourself grow you. In the next part, we'll dive into careers. How do you actually build optionality into your professional life? How do you make sure your skills, your network, and your opportunities expand over time rather than narrow? How do you design a career that compounds regardless of what the world throws at you? Stay with me. This is the long game, and we're just getting started.
Now we arrive at the deepest layer of optionality, the inner game. Because you can build career optionality, financial optionality, even lifestyle optionality. But if your inner world is rigid, fearful, or fragile, then the moment life shocks you, you'll freeze. True optionality isn't just about structures outside. It's about becoming a person who grows in every scenario. Think about it like this. Life constantly throws randomness at us. A sudden loss, a chance meeting, a health scare, a global event. Some people collapse under that weight because their identity is fused with a single storyline. I am my job title. I am my relationship. I am my net worth. When that storyline is disrupted, they feel erased. But others have a wider identity. They see themselves as learners, explorers, builders, creators. Their sense of self isn't tied to one fragile pillar. It's anchored in adaptability itself. That's the core of inner optionality, designing your mind so that whatever happens, you can rewrite your story. So, how do we build this? Let's break it down. First, curiosity as a default stance. The curious mind doesn't need certainty. It thrives on exploration. When something unexpected happens, instead of panicking, the curious mind asks, "What can I learn here? Where does this lead?" That question turns shocks into opportunities. It transforms fear into fuel. Second, detachment from perfection. If you need everything to go exactly as planned, you're brittle. Optionality means accepting that plans are sketches, not scripts. You aim, you act, and you allow for surprises. Progress, not perfection, is the rhythm of resilient growth. Third, investing in the self. Skills compound, knowledge compounds, health compounds, and all of these travel with you across scenarios. If you are fit, sharp, disciplined, and continually learning, you carry optionality inside your very being. The external world can collapse, but you still have your instrument, yourself, ready to play new music. Fourth, resilience practices. Meditation, journaling, training your body, these are not just wellness cliches. They are methods of fortifying your inner state so that chaos doesn't knock you down. When the external world is uncertain, the inner world becomes your base of stability. Paradoxically, that stability is what lets you adapt faster. And finally, community and relationships. Optionality is not just individual. The people you know, the trust you've built, the reputation you carry, all of these are doors. When one opportunity shuts, often it is someone in your network who points you toward another. So cultivate relationships not just for transactions, but for genuine growth. You never know which connection will blossom in ways you couldn't predict. Now, let's step back and put it all together. We've seen optionality in philosophy. Don't cling to prediction, design for flexibility. We've seen it in careers. Build transferable skills, diversify your professional bets, and stay open to paths you didn't plan. We've seen it in finances. Cap your downside, open your upside, and remember that just a few great bets can outweigh hundreds of failures. We've seen it in lifestyle. Avoid fragile dependencies, build multiple pillars of meaning, and make sure your environment doesn't trap you. And now, we've seen it in the inner world. Cultivate curiosity, resilience, self-investment, and community. When all of these align, you become like a tree with many roots. Storms may break branches, winds may strip leaves, but the roots hold strong, and new growth always comes. You are no longer at the mercy of a single outcome. You are positioned to grow in every outcome. This is why optionality is such a powerful long-game strategy. Because life is uncertain, yes, but uncertainty is not your enemy. Uncertainty is the soil in which surprising opportunities sprout. Fragile people fear it. Optional people flourish in it. So, as we close this episode, I want to leave you with a thought. You don't need to predict the future. You don't need to control the winds. All you need to do is design your sails, plant your seeds, and expand your roots so that whatever future arrives, it carries you forward. That's optionality. That's how you design a life that grows in every scenario. I'm Nathan, and this has been The Long Game. Until next time, keep playing for the long horizon. And remember, the more options you create, the more inevitable your growth becomes.